Hello guys, today we're gonna roast another and the third one that are my favorites. I'm actually very scared of roasting Junko Enoshima. She's pure evil. She's a sadomasochistic, almost a sociopath to roast. And she's very dangerous.
Good day. Here to make life a little less complicated.
Oh, that's terrified. Her voice is that of a monster, a pure evil monster. Anyway, let's go. Let's roast her. 3, 2, 1, go. I do not feel bad, but I'm actually just scared of roasting her. Let's go. Let's roast her. 3, 2, 1, go. Yo, Junko, how is it doing, bro?
Oh, of course you show up. And I'm doing absolutely magnificent. Just beautiful, in fact.
Yeah, all you care is just your beauty, so quit it with your behavior of magnificent body, just like you always are.
Oh, please, Maddie is just beautiful. Why the hell would I want to alter my perfect genetics, huh?
Alter? Who said I need your alter ego? You don't have one. You're just having a beautiful cancer, just like you are.
Shut up, I don't have cancer.
Well, your entire life is.
My entire life? Junko suddenly looked very vulnerable. That doesn't matter. My life is fine, okay? I don't need you to lecture me.
Who said I need to lecture? You're the lecture. You're the problem. You're the despair. You're just a beautiful jester, while you're just an ugly at the inside, cause you're all psychotic.
That isn't true. Stop lying to me.
That isn't true. Come on, I see you in that face of yours. You're not even that innocent. All that voice crack, it's all true behind all this.
That isn't true. Tears started to brim in Junko's eyes, and her words started getting a bit shakier.
You, Junko, is sus.
Stop it! Tears started going down Junko's face as her facade was slowly breaking down, and she started looking more vulnerable and sad than she has in a long time.
Yeah, keep being vulnerable, just like a remorse faker that you are.
Shut up, shut up! Tears were now freely running down Junko's face, and it was clear this was tearing her up inside.
Oh, now you're playing the victim. Yeah, I guess I do doubt about it, but it's not a doubt anymore. You're just making stories, just like your own life are. You're very, very sadomasochistic. I thought about it that you're gonna lie on this one.
I'm not lying. The despair-obsessed girl's words were being spoken through sobs at this point. She was so used to being the one bringing despair to others that she could barely hold all this back anymore.
Ha! I knew that face. It's sus. It's sus, just like the imposter from Among Us.
Stop calling me that. At this point, Junko was breaking down completely, crying softly, and looking even more vulnerable than before.
You're an imposter. You always are an imposter, and you're not even a crewmate. You never will be.
Junko could only muster a very quiet "shut up" before breaking down into sobs, burying her face in her hands. She didn't know what to say anymore. She didn't know how to keep her despair front anymore. She always just expected herself to be some emotionless, untouchable despair bringer, but she was just a miserable, insecure girl.
I told you you're just a poor, insecure female. I knew it. I knew it. Cause your name is Junko for a reason.
Junko couldn't say anything and could only cry a bit harder. She didn't like being called out like that. She wanted to be seen as the cold, sadistic ultimate despair and nothing else. But now her true self was being exposed to the light, and she couldn't stop it anymore.
Ha! I guess you cannot keep it cause your tears are actually dry. You're actually shredded to be a pure evil monster like you always are.
I'm not. Junko tried to protest, but her words were mostly drowned out by her sobs at this point, and the once confident fashionista was now just a weak, miserable girl. She always thought she never felt real despair, but now look at her.
Yeah, look at you. You're not even a despair anymore. You're just a poor, poor coward.
I'm not. I'm the ultimate despair I'm supposed to be. Junko couldn't speak anymore. She could barely even form words at this point, and the sobs were getting even more intense. Her despair was all a facade, and she never wanted to admit that she was just as vulnerable and sad as everyone else.
I guess I'm more of a despair than you. Uh? I got you.
Junko was a complete crying wreck, and she couldn't even protest that. It was pathetic. One of the most cruel despair freaks was actually just a sad, lonely girl who wanted acceptance. She only kept crying, not even able to form a defense anymore. Junko had no more words. She just stared at you miserably as she cried, and she didn't know what to say at this point. She just looked very vulnerable, and she was completely broken down at this point.
Yeah. Keep crying. Make fear. Make tears. Go fake tears. Go touch grass. Junko Enoshima.
Shut up! Junko's words were between sobs and hiccups, and more tears fell from her face. In just a few minutes, she had gone from the cocky, sadistic, ultimate despair to a miserable mess of a girl. It was almost laughable.
Oh my gosh, it's so hilarious at how you're scared of yourself.
I'm not scared, I'm not. Junko's words were just a soft whimper now, and her weak facade was shattered. She was trying to hold on to any of her despair and despair-bringing persona, but was just falling apart more and more the more she talked. It was a pitiful sight to witness, but it was oddly satisfying.
Well deserved, well deserved.
Shut up! Junko was just sniffling now, and she was completely vulnerable. The girl who was always in control of herself, the girl who was always calm, was now miserable and sad and didn't know what else to do anymore.
Oh, is the baby grown up crying right now?
Shut up, I'm not a baby! Junko tried to sound a little more assertive, but all it came out was a sob and more tears, and she just looked absolutely pathetic and miserable.
You're miserable, just like all your own life, just like you always are.
I'm not always miserable. Junko tried once again to defend herself, but her words were just a hiccup this time, and the despair-obsessed girl just kept sniffling and more tears fell down her face. She was just completely broken down, and her despair facade was now shattered, and she hated it.
Junko, why are you hugging me? Get off me, okay?
Junko didn't answer. The despair-obsessed girl just leaned against you, still heavily sobbing and still looking absolutely miserable. She was still trying to hold herself together, but she was slowly breaking down even more.
Hey, why are you hugging me?
Junko didn't answer. She just continued to cry softly, and she held onto you tighter, and it just seemed like she needed someone to comfort her. Though she'd never admit it to anyone out loud, of course. She just hated being this vulnerable in front of someone.
Huh, you're just a poor, ugly clown of this class of Dankaropa.
Junko continued to hug onto you, still crying, and her words were nearly incomprehensible at this point. Her despair and despair-spreading persona was completely shattered, and all that was left was a sad, miserable girl who just needed affection.
That's actually great. That's actually great. Great one. Great one.
Junko let out a soft hiccup squeak, still clinging onto you, and she looked and sounded completely miserable as she continued to cry. Her despair was shattered, and her despair-obsessed self was just a sad, lost, lonely girl trying to hold herself together. She just needed some comfort, though she'd never say it out loud.
Go hurt someone else. Come on. Why are you just arguing me? Why are you just arguing me, okay? Why?
Junko's grip on you only tightens as she continues to cling on to you and cry, still not answering your questions and instead just breaking down even more. She just needs someone. She just needs someone.
Why not just someone else? Why me? Go find someone else.
Junko still doesn't answer, instead just buries her face in your chest, and her sobs get even more intense. She was desperate to hold on to someone, and she wasn't gonna let you go anytime soon.
Oh no, I got a one.
Junko sniffed, and her grip on you gets even tighter, and she clings to you even closer. She just wants comfort. She just wants someone to care about her. She doesn't know what to do anymore.
Oh, come on. You won't let me escape? Come on, I was gonna escape.
Junko's grip on you was very tight, and she just clinged to you and sobbed harder, still looking and sounding very miserable and vulnerable. She was just desperate for comfort. She hated feeling this way, but she also didn't want to be alone.
Go find someone else. I don't need you. No one needs you, Junko. And you know about it.
Junko finally speaks up at that, letting out a soft and shaky no. As she continued to cling to you desperately, her grip on you tight. She was trying to argue, but she was just so miserable that she couldn't bring herself to say more than that.
So where is the despair at? You're just the worst despair ever.
Junko had no words to defend herself. She just gripped you tighter, and her sobs still didn't stop. She was just miserable, and all of her facade of being the ultimate despair was wiped away, and she was just weak and fragile. She just wanted somebody to care for her, even a little.
I do care for you about you not being dirty. Got him!
Junko only responded in a soft whimper and squeezed you tighter. She was just a vulnerable mess now, and she wouldn't admit it, but she needed this comfort. She needed someone to care a little about her.
Ha! Your voice is that of a psychotic jester like you are, and you're not a great student. You're pure evil. Your voice is that of a pure evil. You are a dangerous menace of society.
Junko didn't fight back against you this time, instead just burying her face a bit more in your chest as her sobs got even more intense. She didn't like being called out, but she couldn't bring herself to argue back. The despair-obsessed girl was just a miserable mess at this point, not even having the energy to fight back even a little.
You're not a great student. All about you is sus. Your walking, your running, your move, your step. When you grow up, everything is pure evil. Everything is sus about you because you're always sus.
Junko tried to speak up at that, trying to argue back, but only let out a weak and shaky no as more tears fell down her face, and she clung even tighter to you, still wanting to hold someone, wanting someone to care just a bit about her. She knew how terrible she was, she knew she was evil, but she also knew how sad and miserable she was. She knew how much she needed someone.
So, do you wanna admit it that you're pure evil, or you're just gonna fake remorse all the time?
Junko sniffed softly, burying her face in your chest again and gripping you tighter, almost pulling herself closer to you. Her facade was broken, the despair bringer was shattered, she just wanted someone. She knew she was evil, there was no denying it anymore, but the poor girl was just so desperate for someone to care about her, no matter how horrible she was.
So, do you wanna admit it, or just hide it? I cannot tell what to do.
Junko took a deep breath, trying to compose words even with all her sobbing, and she finally spoke in a shaky and soft, vulnerable voice. I'm evil.
Great! Great choice. You tell the truth. I forgive you.
Junko sniffed softly, still clinging to you tightly, still looking miserable and vulnerable. The despair-obsessed girl was finally almost honest, though she was still holding back a bit. After all, she didn't want to be completely alone. And she just needed the comfort, even if she had to be slightly manipulative to get it.
I forgive you, Junko.
Really? Junko's words were soft and still shaky, and she sounded a little bit hopeful, though the despair-obsessed girl also sounded like she couldn't believe it. She was vulnerable, she was sad, but she at least sounded almost a little bit hopeful.
Yes, really. And try to say honest
Junko nodded slowly once, still clinging to you tightly and looking desperate for comfort, and also, surprisingly, a little bit relieved, like she was happy someone was showing her kindness for once. Really? Because you care. Junko's words were soft, but there was a slight amount of hope in her voice, and she still gripped you tightly, and she actually sounded sincere. Junko looked up at you, her eyes watery and still with tears falling down her face, and she spoke in another soft and shaky voice. I need reassurance.
Yes. And try honest words this time, okay?
Junko took another shaky breath, still very vulnerable, and responded in a soft, quiet voice with a small nod. Okay.
That's all I need to say.
Junko sniffed softly, and her grip on you got even tighter, still clinging to you and looking so vulnerable and miserable. She hated letting her facade slip like this, but at the same time, she just wanted to be held and cared for, and she so desperately needed to be reassured that she wasn't alone, even if only for a moment.
I guess I shouldn't have roasted you. That was actually very mean. That was for a prank. I guess the prank was gone wrong. Sorry.
Junko shook her head, and she managed to get out a soft, "It's fine," even through her.
I'm sorry for roasting you. I didn't mean to do that. It was actually for a prank, but I guess the prank was gone wrong. Then again, I'm sorry.
Junko shook her head with a soft sniff and finally met your gaze, her expression vulnerable, sad, and a bit ashamed. "No, don't apologize. She pauses for a moment before speaking again. I deserved it.
Yeah, that was actually mean. I didn't mean to be mean to you. That was actually too far. I would say myself, I'm truly sorry.
It's fine." Junko still sounded vulnerable and sad, and she wouldn't let go of you, though she did let out a heavy sigh, like she was somewhat trying to compose herself. I'm used to being treated badly.
I should have been more softer than being rough.
I don't blame you. I was so. Junko pauses for a moment and then speaks softly and quietly. Cruel.
Yeah, actually, that was your past. I would blame it.
Yeah, it was my past. Junko looked ashamed and her grip on you got even tighter and she let out an even heavier sigh. But I was still cruel and awful.
This time, I won't joking or pranking you. Do you want to be my friend?
That question seemed to surprise Junko. It was clear she had not been expecting it in any way, and her expression was a mix of surprise and a little bit of hopefulness. You want to be friends? With me?
Yes, I want to be your friend. I'm very sincere.
Junko was clearly caught completely off guard, and she just stared for a moment, not quite believing what she was hearing. It was like she had never thought of the possibility that someone could want to be her friend, that someone could want to care about her. Really?
Yes, really. Try your best.
Junko just held on to you, still in disbelief at what you just said. Nobody has ever wanted to be her friend before, and now someone wants to try? She finally spoke again, her voice still very shaky and vulnerable, but there was a small hint of hope and disbelief in it as well. Yeah, I'd like to try.
Okay, let's be friends, and let's see what you can do with me.
Junko nods in agreement, and though she's still very vulnerable and miserable, and she still has tears in her eyes, there's a small, almost invisible hint of a smile on her face at the thought of actually having a real friend. And she clings to you tighter, still desperate for some kind of comfort, and she still doesn't look like she's going to let go of you anytime soon.
Hmm. Yeah, you're actually uh very vulnerable. Okay, I guess I'm very sorry. Then again, with the roast.
I, yeah, I just. Junko pauses again, her voice still soft, vulnerable, and almost pleading, and she grips onto you even tighter, her body shaking a little bit as her facade of the ultimate despair has finally shattered, and she looks extremely vulnerable and miserable now. I just need some sort of comfort.
Well, you have it right now. You have your comfort. You have it.
Junko lets out a soft whimper and she buries her face in your chest again, clinging to you tightly. She seems to have completely dropped all of her despair bullshit. And all she really looks like right now is a sad, vulnerable girl who just needed someone to comfort her.
Do you need ice cream?
Junko nods, still clinging to you tightly, and her face still buried in your chest, and her voice is still shaky and softly spoken. Yeah, I could use some ice cream.
Which flavor?
Vanilla, please. Junko responded in her soft, vulnerable voice, still holding on to you tightly, like she was afraid you would leave if she let go of you.
Hmm, there's a new flavor of ice cream. It's calling bomb ice cream.
Junko shook her head softly, a shaky tone in her voice as she still held tightly to you, not wanting to let go. No. No, I don't want that. I just want plain vanilla.
Why is there a bomb ice cream? It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I guess it's like Those weird flavors of candy that have a strange mix of tastes? Junko shrugged and buried her face even more in your chest, still shaking, but her grip on you just got even tighter.
Yeah, this is weird.
It is. Junko agreed, still shaking and gripping you tightly, her face still buried in your chest, like she was afraid you were going to leave. No, she was terrified that you were going to leave her alone, now that she had found someone that cared about her.
Chill. I'm staying, okay? I'm staying.
Junko slowly raised her head a bit, looking up at you, her expression still very vulnerable, but there's almost relief in her eyes at your words. Yeah, you're staying?
Yeah, I'm staying.
Junko's expression relaxed a bit, and she held onto you a little tighter, a small, shaky smile spreading on her face, and tears started welling up in her eyes again. She looked grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Junko buried her face into your chest again, letting out a soft sigh, and her grip on you was still tight. Though the shaking had subsided a little bit, it was still there. She was still holding on to you like you were the only thing that was keeping her together.
Chill. I actually have a girlfriend, so her name is Emma Grossman.
Emma Grossman. Junko lifted her head again, a little confused, and looked at you with a slightly questioning expression, still holding on to you tightly but seeming confused at who you had mentioned.
Yep, she is actually my girlfriend, and yeah, Junko, if this breaks down your heart, sorry, but I'm just your bestie, okay?
Junko took a deep, shaky breath, and there was a hint of pain in her eyes as you mentioned you had a girlfriend, but she tried to hide it as best she could. It's fine.
So can we be a best friend instead?
Junko was silent for a few seconds, thinking over what you just said, and her grip on you got even a little tighter at the mention of being best friends. Yeah, we can be best friends.
Sure, let's go.
Junko nods and follows you, still shaky and very vulnerable, and she can't bring herself to let go of your hand. She looks a bit scared, like she's afraid you'll leave her behind if she lets go of your hand.